I'm sorry I'm not in person to talk to you. I was really looking forward. Last time we were going to Singapore, we both were going there, but then I couldn't go, and unfortunately it never happened. But someday maybe we'll meet in person. For now, I want to just tell you that I'm very thankful for your support for Ukraine, and both prayerful support and financial. I know Troy mentioned that your church gave to Ukrainians big amount of money. Thank you very much. This war is something that I never thought can happen, would happen in my life, and it changed a lot of things. Personally for me, because I'm Ukrainian, and for many people in Ukraine, my whole family in Ukraine, still there. And they're going through a hard time, but by God's grace, they're safe. They're in the area that is still not very much touched by Russian troops, so thankfully they are not in danger, at least now. There's no safe, I guess, place in Ukraine at this moment, but we know they're safe. Thank you very much for praying for them, because this is the time when many things that we can read in Bible and it's only theory for us suddenly become reality. Like, for example, anger toward your enemies, but Christ tells us we should love them. I struggled with that in the beginning, to be honest with you. When someone comes to you into your house and just kills you for no reason, it's really hard to love, I tell you. I suddenly began to see myself as that Jonah who didn't want to go and preach to Ninevian people because they were cruel people. There was a reason why he didn't want to go there, even though he clearly understood that God wanted him to go. And suddenly I asked myself a question: Oksana, if God sent you to Russia at this moment, would you go? I honestly tell you, I was not ready to answer that question, because I struggled a lot with anger, and Russia became my enemy. I never thought about them that way, but when it happened, when we heard about all the atrocities that Russian people did in Ukraine and keep doing, killing innocent children, raping women, and doing all sorts of creative atrocities there, it's hard to love, I tell you. It's really hard to love. Even when I talk to my sister, I can feel that she struggles thinking like a Christian, because there's anger in her heart. And I would encourage you to pray for Ukrainians. It becomes reality when it's your life. It's really hard. It's easy to read Bible, really easy, but we know as Christians it's hard to live like one. Love your enemies. And that's what it becomes really hard when you have enemy. When you don't have enemies, it's easy. So I know a lot of them struggle with anger, and they need God's grace to overcome that and be still loving. I want to tell you that church in Ukraine in general is doing very well spiritually now, and they're helping refugees. They're taking humanitarian aids to remote parts of Ukraine where people can get much at all. They're helping in many ways. They have projects to actually make teams of guys who know work of construction to go to these people's houses and help them to restore their houses, because after explosions, bombs and so on, they have a lot of needs over there, and they want to give people gospel when they help them in this way. So it's one way that you can pray about, because it's still a project. They're still working toward that, but they, as far as I know, they haven't started doing that. And there's a lot of people who are receiving gospel at this moment, because many of them go, when they're fleeing from their countries, many of them go through Baptist churches, and they hear the gospel there, they get help over there, and they change their perspective on Baptist church as it is, because in Ukraine it's considered to be like a sect, you know, but people's opinion about Baptist churches is changing, so it's good, and God is doing his amazing work. Many people hear the gospel, and hopefully someday they will come to Jesus to thank Him for all He did for them.